A Horizon Air flight was traveling from Washington State to California. An off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot riding in the cockpit jump seat did something extraordinary. Authorities said Joseph Emerson tried to activate controls that could shut down both engines. The operating pilots wrestled him away from the controls and removed him from the cockpit. He was restrained in the cabin while the aircraft diverted safely to Portland. Emerson later faced dozens of criminal charges. Usually when there's an off-duty pilot aboard, that's considered reassuring. Not this time. An American Airlines flight from Calgary to Chicago was nearing its destination when a man began unraveling in strange ways. He sang loudly, stomped his feet, hit himself, wrote on his face with a black marker, and tore up his passport, visa, driver's license, and boarding pass. Then he broke his headphones and glasses, made threatening gestures, and asked another passenger if she was scared. Passengers finally restrained him with zip ties, and the pilots diverted to Cedar Rapids. Somewhere between drying on his face and destroying his glasses, everyone else stopped worrying about turbulence. Passengers boarding a Southwest flight from Albuquerque to Phoenix noticed something unusual about rows 12 and 13. There was a woman inside the overhead luggage compartment. She was stretched out looking down at the passengers boarding beneath her while the flight attendant continued welcoming everyone onto the aircraft. Imagine finding your seat, looking up to store your bag, and making eye contact with the storage. An American Airlines flight was traveling from Los Angeles to New York when a woman began loudly singing Whitney Houston songs. She reportedly continued for about an hour and refused repeated requests to stop. A federal air marshal eventually restrained her and handcuffed her, while the captain declared an emergency and diverted the aircraft to Kansas City. Police removed her from the plane. She continued singing as officers escorted her away. The flight eventually continued to New York. She didn't win a singing competition, but she did receive several hundred votes to leave.
We'll always love you.
No photos are allowed to be taken on the aircraft.
Two women boarded an American Airlines flight in Miami and sat in seats that weren't theirs. They refused when airline employees told them to move. Police were eventually called and arrested both women. That should have ended it. Instead, videos showed the pair repeatedly dropping into full splits while officers escorted them through the airport. They later posted about the arrest themselves on social media. There was absolutely no indication that either woman understood embarrassment had been invented. James McElver, a 19-year-old singer with the Scottish group Rewind, was preparing to board an EasyJet flight when staff told him he would have to pay an additional fee for his extra carry-on bag. Rather than pay it, he decided to wear the contents. He reportedly wore 6 shirts, 4 sweaters, 3 pairs of jeans, 2 pairs of sweatpants, 2 jackets, and 2 hats. This strategy successfully reduced his baggage. It also caused him to overheat and lose consciousness during the flight. He beat that carry-on fee. TikTok user Daniel was flying from Charlotte to Los Angeles when she fell asleep in her seat. She reached Los Angeles, went to her lodging, and later discovered something she couldn't explain. A section of her hair had been tightly braided. Daniel concluded that someone seated behind her had apparently braided it while she slept. She posted about the experience online, hoping to identify whoever did it. Sleeping through a flight is usually considered successful. She woke up with evidence that somebody else had been busy. Southwest Flight 733 was taxiing in Houston when a woman suddenly stood up and demanded to be let up the plane. Then she removed all her clothes. She spent 25 minutes walking through the cabin, screaming and banging on the cockpit door while passengers watched in disbelief. The pilots returned to the gate, where an airline employee covered her with a blanket and police took her for a medical evaluation. For 25 minutes she walked around naked while everyone else maintained the concept of assigned seating. A JetBlue flight from New York to Sarasota was underway when a couple decided the passenger cabin offered enough privacy for sex. It did not. A mother and several children nearby witnessed what was happening. Airport police were waiting when the plane landed in Florida and arrested both passengers on lewd exhibition charges. Cameron McDougal was flying from Panama City to Toronto when he struck another passenger, causing the pilot to divert to Miami. He was removed but not arrested and simply booked another flight to Canada the next morning. Then he started again. McDougal randomly struck another traveler, attacked a security guard, returned to the TSA checkpoint, and began swinging at officers. He later pleaded guilty to federal charges. Miami gave him an entire night to reconsider his behavior. Apparently he did not do that. A Southwest flight from Oakland to San Diego turned violent after one passenger reclined her seat. The man sitting behind her apparently objected and began arguing with her over the limited space. Witnesses said he reached forward and started choking the woman. Other passengers intervened and the flight crew separated them before police met the aircraft after landing. The incident became another entry in the endless argument over reclining airplane seats. The seat was specifically designed to recline. He apparently considered that an unacceptable design flaw requiring immediate intervention. An American Airlines flight from Honduras to Miami was still boarding when a passenger suddenly ran straight into the open cockpit. He began damaging the flight controls while a pilot tried to stop him. Then he attempted to climb out through the cockpit window before police eventually took him into custody. Apparently, once you've entered the cockpit and started smashing things, a window begins looking remarkably like an exit. A Breeze Airways passenger apparently became tired of waiting for cabin service and decided to eliminate the middleman. He got out of his seat, walked over to the airline service cart, and began helping himself to packaged food. A flight attendant repeatedly told him to stop. He didn't. The attendant warned him that police would be waiting when they landed. Of all the places to help yourself to unlimited food, he chose the one place famous for not having any. Passengers on United Flight 455 from Austin to San Francisco were waiting to leave when their pilot boarded wearing ordinary clothes. Then she asked the passengers to vote on whether she should change into her uniform. Things got stranger. She took the PA and began talking about her divorce and the presidential election while insulting both presidential candidates. About 20 passengers decided they were no longer comfortable having her fly the aircraft and got off. United replaced the pilot, delaying the flight about 2 hours. It's difficult to relax when the person flying the airplane appears to need a ride home herself.